live. Guys, welcome back to another Facebook Live. And we are here to dig into real estate investing talk show. So it is important that you pay attention today. I have a really great training for you, as I'm going to be talking on our radio show as well. And for our podcasters out there that are listening in, you remember you're here for a reason. It's to learn about real estate, to be engaged with real estate, to learn more every day to grow your business. Same thing as my Facebook fans. Growing is absolutely important for your everyday business. So I share with you, on the listeners on the radio, you should come and join us. Join us live on Facebook fan page, Creative Real Estate Training Academy, and this is what it's all about. And so I encourage all of you to jump on board and listen to what we're doing, because it is important that you constantly grow in your business. You know, and whether you're watching me on Facebook Live or you're riding down the road listening to me in your car, or maybe you've podcasted me and you're listening to me on your podcast, you know, you should always go back and listen to some of our older shows. For those of you on Facebook, scroll down and watch some of our videos from some older shows. We have lots of great stuff on here. We're always talking about something. So if you're just joining me for the very first time, this is Zack Childress with Real Estate Investing Talk Show for today's real estate market. And I share this with you because I want you to understand that the market is always changing, but there are some things that will always stay the same, which is the processes in which you do your business. And so one of the main things we're going to talk about today is the two main types of lead sources. I'm going to break these two main types down. I don't care what cycle we're in, there's always two main types of lead sources. These two main types of lead sources obviously break into much more in-depth processes and different types of marketing strategies underneath each lead source. And so I want you to understand the difference between these two lead sources and why being in the market we're in really kind of dictates which lead source is going to give us the best results. And so I share that with you today because I want you to succeed when it comes to your marketing. And let me tell you this, and let me promise you this: we're all in the marketing business. Whether you want to acknowledge that or not, you are in the marketing business. So for those of you listening in on the radio or downloaded the podcast, you need to come over to Creative Real Estate Training Academy on Facebook. You need to join our page. If you're watching us for the first time, go up, join this page, follow this page, like our stream. One of the things that I think it has more value than all the love you guys give me and the feedback you give me from all this free information that we do is when you actually share our videos, when you share what we're doing here with other people that could benefit from it. Your ability to be proud of what you do, and not just proud of what you do, but stand and know that, hey, look, I'm learning from someone that could help others. When you do that, man, you're doing more for people than you even realize. So as you all know, I'm in here with the lovely Jill. Say hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill. And am I all white on the screen?
Are.
I'm like looking in the video here, and I'm like extremely white.
You're like powder and kind of glowing.
I don't think I've ever been this white in here.
No.
Did we change the bulbs in here or something?
No, we didn't. I'm here.
I almost feel like I'm blending into this wood back here. Anyways, listen, we're going to get this show started in just a minute, I promise. But I want to just let all my Facebook fans, you know, if you've got questions, let me know. If you've got something that you need to know about, let me know. If you've got some challenges, let me know. If you're looking for answers, let me know. Type it in. Listen, we always talk about active participation. It's much different than just participating. You could say, I'm going to participate, but active participation is the most important thing that you can do. And I just want you to understand that your active participation is much appreciated by me. Your ability to share the stream is much appreciated by me. I think that is the greatest compliment that you could ever give to someone, that you have some information that could help them as well as myself. So for those of you that are just coming on board, welcome. This is Zack Childress with your real estate investing talk show for today's market. We are digging deeper, hashtag dig deeper, into the two main types of leads that all real estate investors need to know about. The two main types of leads that all real estate investors need to know about. And so if you're in a market right now and you're saying, oh, I can't get any leads. Oh, I don't know where all the sellers are at. Oh, my market is done with. Well, you got to own your own life, guys. You got to own it. And what does that mean? You got to make moves. You got to make changes. You got to move where everyone else is not at. You got to move some things around. You got to shift it up a little bit. You got to say, okay, well, when the market changes and leads aren't as available as they used to be, then you got to change your marketing strategies. For instance, if you're still trying to get leads out of the market we're in today, the same way you were trying to get leads 2 and 3 and 4 years ago, no wonder you're not able to build your business. No wonder you're not able to grow, because the lead sources are just not as abundant as they were, say, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years ago. So you got to make some changes. We're going to talk about that today on today's show. We're going to talk about it. We're going to answer your questions about it. So if you've got questions, type them in. If you're listening to me, there's no way for you to type it in on the radio show. So I encourage you, go over to our Creative Real Estate Training Academy on Facebook, like our fan page, and then you can be part of what we do every Tuesday at 1:30 Eastern Time Zone. We go live to bring you value, to answer your questions, to talk to you about your business, what's working, what's not working. And tomorrow, Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 1:30 Eastern Time Zone, we also go live with our Dig Deeper book review. So that's important because it helps us change our mindset, and it helps us really evaluate where other people were coming from when they were writing that book, or how it could influence you or help you grow. So those are some very powerful things I want you guys to be aware of. So we're here Mondays. We do our REI success tips. We're always doing something. Read the read the information above the video if you get over to our Facebook page. A lot of great stuff there for you to tell you how you can benefit from what we do. So I share that with you. I'm going to take a quick break for the radio listeners and for my blog talk and my podcast listeners. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll come right back to you guys in just a few minutes. Be right back. Facebook, 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 Facebook. Listen, I know I've got this glow about me today. And you would think I had light shining on me, but I have no lights in here today. It's just my natural glow. So, Facebook, welcome back to the party. Yes, we're back in the saddle this week, and we want you to be back in your saddle. You need to be getting up and getting things done. Get her done, guys. That's what we're here for. We got to get it done. You got to start getting your life right, guys. Get your life right. Get your life right. Get your life right. It's very important that you do that. I'll give you a prime example. This happened just yesterday. There was an opportunity for someone to make a big move in their life and be part of something much bigger than they were. And the olive branch was extended, but that person abused that olive branch. That person made themselves a nuisance to the opportunity and forced their way onto it to where it was unwelcomed at that moment. And at the end of the day, all of their problems and their burdens in life became abundantly clear onto the person offering the opportunity. And do you know why? Because they hadn't gotten their life right yet. You understand why I keep saying to you, you'll never get your money right until you start getting your life right. And that's why, because when you're so far lost in your life and you're all over the place and you've got your hand out constantly and you're asking for help from people, and you don't think it's a big deal, but it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal because you don't have your life right. And that's why I keep saying hashtag getting your life right. That's what you've got to focus on, because when you get your life right, everything else comes to play. All the money starts coming that you've ever wanted. All the relationships start coming that you've ever wanted. All the future pacing and the visualization and the ability to start giving back to others. All that starts to come when you start getting your life right. And I hate it. But let me tell you something. If I offer you an olive branch, don't abuse that branch. Don't consume me with your burdens and your misfortunes. Because that is something that I could care less about in that moment. Not that I don't care about you as an individual, but I don't care about your problems to the point that I'm not going to let them interfere in my life. And so you need to understand that. If you've got problems, I'm going to tell you something that your parents should have told you a long time ago. No one cares about your problems but you. And if you think somebody else really cares about your problems, then watch how many friends you have left when you start telling everybody about your problems all the time. They start to dislocate from you because they're your problems. You're the one that needs to work on them. You're the one that needs to get them right. You've got to start getting your life right, and then you will attract people to you. And I share that with you just because I just had to get it off my chest, really. I just had to air it out there. Just had to let it out. Just get it all out. So, Jill, we got anybody with a question today?
Toby actually says that she has a lead with a scheduled appointment.
Way to go, Toby! Good to have you back, Toby. You've got a lead that you've spoken to with an appointment to go meet with them and to hopefully build a relationship with that lead so that you can then present an offer to them. Toby, do me a favor. Don't make them an offer on the first visit, okay? Don't do it. Just listen to your coach right now. Do not make them an offer on the first visit. You need to establish the anticipation of how you buy in that first meeting. That you don't pay retail, that you have to fix properties up to meet current conditions. That means you have to invest money, and because of that, that you expect to earn a profit on that. So you've got to make sure that you set the expectation in that first meeting so that when you tell them that you're going to go evaluate the property in the neighborhood, when you come back, then they're prepared for your offer because now they're expecting your offer to be lower than what they might have anticipated themselves that they were going to get. So, word to the wise, set the expectation in the first meeting. What else we got, Jill?
Well, we have Paris who says, you look extremely happy.
It's only because of you, Paris. You make me happy when the skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I appreciate you.
Susan, she's here and she says, hi, Zach.
Hey, Susan, welcome to the show. Questions are important, guys. Give me your questions.
And I'm
Give
going
them to me.
I'm going to throw somebody under the bus who doesn't know that I can see that they're watching, but Jay is on here.
Jay, welcome to the show, Jay. My good friend Jay. Jay! Have you made it home yet? I'm curious. How's your trip going? Hopefully you've made it home. So listen, let's do this. Let's dig into the show today. We're going to go back on, okay?
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, it's Zack Childress, and I'm back. Well, I never left my Facebook fans, but for all of you on the podcast and the Blog Talk Radio, you got to get on the Facebook, guys. You got to get on my Facebook fan page, Creative Real Estate Training Academy on Facebook. Join us over there. This is Zack Childress with your real estate investing talk show for today's market. And our main point for today is the two main types of leads. What are these two main types and how are they important? Well, these two main types are private seller leads and public seller leads. Listen to me. Private seller leads and public seller leads. Those are the only two main types of leads. Now, underneath each one of those is a bunch of different parameters and filters and different directions we can go. And so we're going to talk about that. But the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is public seller leads. And what are public seller leads? Well, public seller leads are defined as leads that are put on like a multiple listing service, something of that nature, or something that's been put on a mainstream site like Zillow, for instance. Public seller leads are difficult to acquire in times, and sometimes they're a great lead source. It all depends on the market cycle that we're in, and it depends on the demand between sellers and buyers. To help you understand this, a public seller lead on the MLS means that it is open to the public. Everyone can see it. So not only are you making an offer on that property, but every other investor in town is probably making an offer on that property. And it makes it more challenging to acquire the best deals, because really, if you're all looking at the same property that has the exact same ARV, then who wins the bid? Who wins the deal? Well, it's all in the numbers, right? So if you're saying, well, I'm going to run my ARV at $200,000 and everybody else is running at $200,000, but you didn't win that offer, well, you might wonder, well, what could I have done different? Well, there are a few factors. Number one is cost of money. Are you paying more for money than someone else? So write that down. Number two factor is the cost of the remodel. So you might be paying more for your remodel than, say, a seasoned investor out there who has relationships and gets better pricing. And number three is your profits. Those are the three main, I would say, variances in any offer that dictates whether you get it or not when you're going after a public seller lead source. So number one, let's go over them again. Number one is cost of capital. Are you paying more for your capital than someone else? Which would allow them, if they're paying less for their capital than you, which would allow them to increase their offer price. And look, if they only beat you by $2,000, they still win it, and the cost of capital could be that. Number two is cost of remodel. You might be a little overzealous and want to make this property the Taj Mahal, and it doesn't need to be. Where another investor that knows the area knows that he could get in and out for $15,000 and it will still sell. Where you're going in there going, oh, well, I want to blow the bathroom out and I want to take these walls down and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, you got a $30,000 remodel and you just shot yourself out of a deal because of that. It goes back to what we talked about previously in one of these trainings, which is about understanding market and understanding competition, and knowing what you need and don't need to do on a property in certain areas. So that's cost of remodel. Those are the things you got to get clear on. Number three is your profits. Are you trying to get rich on one deal or not? Is AC on the line?
I don't see AC there, but I see Rob.
I see AC Johnson just joined us. Big AC in the house. My man over in North Carolina joining us for an afternoon talk show. So those are the three main factors, okay? So when you're going after public seller leads, all right, you've got to understand that your competition is at the highest it can be because everybody has access to it. And you might be wondering, why am I not getting these offers accepted? Because multiple people are making offers, and those are the three variables that you have to understand. That are the only way you're going to make sure you get your offer won is you have to understand which one of these three are you higher on than everybody else. Cost of capital, cost of remodel, and the profits. So, like, I've got a guy in my market that competing with him on a public lead source is kind of irrelevant because I wouldn't even entertain it because he's okay with making $5,000 or $10,000 on a deal. I'm not going to do a deal for $5,000 or $10,000. So whenever I hear his name is a bid on a deal, I'm out because he's going to beat everybody. Because everybody else wants to, a risk factor and they want to make $20,000 plus. Well, he can come in and offer $10,000 more than everybody else because he only needs to make 10 grand on a house. Now, does every deal he do make him money? No, they do not. But it's in volume for him. Okay, it's all in volume for him, and that's his secret sauce. Is he's doing everything in volume. Even though I could teach him a few things to help him make more money per volume, but I'm not going to do that because he's in my own backyard. So I'm I mean, I don't mind helping people, but not at the cost of my living. So that's what I want to talk about. The other thing I want to talk about with public seller leads, which we find on the MLS, is that there is a time and a place to make this your primary lead source. Okay? A time and a place. And what do I mean by that? Is during certain market cycles, public seller leads are absolutely one of the hottest leads you can get. For instance, when we go into a crash and there's lots of foreclosures that are coming on the market, then banks start putting these things out on the market like crazy. Yes, public seller leads are of abundance and we want to be going after them. So the key is we're looking for the length of inventory available in a specific market. Listen to what I just said. The length of inventory available in a specific market. So what do I mean by that? Well, the national average is about 4 months of inventory, which means that every market across the United States, if you took them all together and you added up how many months of inventory they're working with and you divided it by how many markets we have, it comes out to an average of 4 months. Meaning that if in a market they stopped listing properties, they just stopped listing properties in 4 months based on the buying habits, that market would run out of inventory. And that's important to know, especially when we're looking at targeting public seller leads, okay? For an example, when you go into a market and you research what's the availability of inventory in a market and it comes back and there's only 2 months of inventory, then the likelihood that you're going to get a deal off the MLS is about as likely as that right there. A big old zero. Okay? Because why? They don't have to sell at a discount. There's no inventory. These are the types of markets that you run into where you're seeing multiple offers on a property. They're being bidded above the listing price because there's just not enough inventory, which means the first-time home buyers are really consuming those markets. They're paying more, they're being more aggressive because they want a home. And for investors, we kind of get pushed out of those markets. Now, on the reverse side of that is if we only have 2 months of inventory, which means buyers are fighting over inventory, then we want what? We want properties on the market. We want to get as many properties as we can on that market because it's going to make us a fortune by doing that. Now, let's look at the other side of the equation. If we do our research and we study and we find out that the market we're looking at has 7 months of inventory on the market, well, what does that tell us? That there's more inventory than the actual average, and which means that the buyers can pick and choose what they want, which also means that the listing price is more than likely not even what they're selling them for. If you look at a trend report, you'll probably see that the properties are being sold for 5 to 10% less than what the original listing price is because they're having to compete. They're competing with 7 months of inventory sitting on the market, which means sellers have to start dropping their prices. They have to start giving more concessions. They got to be a little bit more, strategic about how they sell their properties and do a little bit more work to them to make them stand out. Well, in that type of market, or in that market condition, or in your zip code zone, you could have that, and that would tell you right away that the likelihood that you could get a deal off the MLS, a public seller lead source, is pretty high because there's a ton of inventory, which means you have the upper hand as a buyer. Now, on the reverse side of that is that even though it might be easy to get them, it might be hard to sell them, right? Because why? There's so much competition. So in a market where you have an influx of inventory, you want to make sure you prepare for that when you go to resell it. So you want to make sure that you run your numbers accordingly, that if you're seeing that the average sale in the area is, I don't know, let's see, $100 a square foot, which brings it up to $175,000 on a house, then you need to be prepared to say, even though the ARV shows 175, you need to run your ARV less than that. Maybe 160, almost 10% less than what that ARV is, to calculate your offer based on all your numbers, so that when you go in that deal, you don't have a long hold time, because you're now able to stick that property on the market less than any of the other properties with a better quality work done to it and upgraded and fixed up. That is how you work and you control a market that has an oversaturation of inventory. So just to keep you on the same page, we are talking about public lead sources, public seller leads off the MLS. It is not always the best lead source, especially in the market that we're moving into. Finding deals on the MLS are becoming harder and harder and harder. So that's why we have to understand the second main lead source that we as investors will ever work with is private seller leads. So remember, there's two types of main lead sources, two main types: public seller leads and private seller leads. So I just walked you through public seller leads. So what I want to do next is I'm going to take you through the private seller leads. So for all of you on the Blog Talk Radio and podcast, give me 1 minute to take a quick break and we will come back to you. This is Zack Childress, Real Estate Investing Talk Show for today's market. I'll be right back. Facebook. I just can't get over this glow I've got going on. I mean, I'm just glowing it up over here.
Are you pregnant?
You know, some people may think so. I was going to say something else, but I realize we're in a public environment right now. Any questions from my Facebook fans?
Okay, so Toby, she says that she is not going to do anything that you don't tell her to do, so she will be on Facebook every day.
Bring me questions, Toby. Bring them to me. Bring them to me.
And she said this is making more and more sense every class.
See? I told you. You just got to show up, right? If you show up, you'll get something out of it.
If people only knew that we have never met Toby.
No, we have never met Toby. I feel like I know Toby, though.
Right, but if people only knew the benefit that she's getting from the Facebook,
Yeah.
which is why you do this.
That's right. Toby shows up. She's actively participating. She's digging deeper. She's in the grind. She's got leads. She's making appointments. She's listening. That's what it's about. That is what it's about.
Yeah, Jay, he says he's in BWI waiting for your connection.
Waiting for his connection.
Your connection to him.
DWI.
BWI. I guess it's Buffalo.
He's not home. He lives in Connecticut.
Oh.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know what he's talking
Maybe
about.
he's in an airport waiting for his connection.
Maybe he said our connection, and I'm reading it as like connection to the office.
Oh, maybe. Or maybe we're just assuming and we know what that all does.
Well, I just did it on Facebook, so you're welcome, everybody.
We're live, guys. We're live. I want your questions, guys. I want your questions. I want your questions. I gotta beg you to ask me a question. There's something wrong with this picture. There's something wrong.
They don't get it.
There's something wrong. You gotta have somebody to beg you to help you. That's something wrong.
I think
There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that.
and it's a great class today.
Well, thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.
I thought about this 2 minutes before we went on air.
Well, I know your head is full of abundant information, so.
I was like, what are we going to talk about today? That's good, though. Jay, you just need to reach out to me whenever you get home, whether you're connecting or connected or unconnected or plugged in or plugged out or plugged up. You just got to let me know, okay? Just got to let me know.
So let's go back live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, it's Zack Childress, and we are back with your real estate investing talk show for today's real estate market. I've been hanging out with my Facebook fans over here, so if you have not joined our Facebook fan page, you need to go to Creative Real Estate Training Academy. Like us on that page, share our stream. For all of you watching right now, share this stream. Share it. That's the greatest gift you can give to me. For those of you that are listening in, you guys need to get on the Facebook bandwagon. wagon. We go live every Tuesday at 1:30 Eastern Time Zone and every Wednesday at 1:30 Eastern Time Zone. Why do we go live? We go live to help you get out of the rat race you're in so that you can see we're really doing this. We're helping people. We want to help you next. You are my next success story. You just don't even realize it. But the only way I can make you successful is you have to believe in you. You've got to believe in this process. You've got to believe in the training. You've got to keep coming back and learning. And eventually what you will realize is that you need help. You need help. That's what you'll realize. See, when we let ego control us, and when we let ego tell us, oh, I've got this, I don't need any help, that's when we need the most help. That's when we're in the most vulnerable position that we can be in, to get lost, to get confused, to get sidetracked, to not have an accountability coach in your life, to really not have someone to help you grow. That, my friends, is why we do this. Now, I know a lot of you know you need coaches, and I know a lot of you know I coach, but I ain't coaching no more the rest of the year. Done. I got my team, I got my crew, I got my students that I'm working with, and we are off to the races, but that does not mean that I can't help you. I can still help you more than you even realize because I have an outstanding team that have been with me for a long time that's helping people just like you blow up your game. But it's up to you to reach out for that help. You've got to say, I need help. You got to know that you got to acknowledge you need it. You got to acknowledge you need to ask for it, and you need to know where to ask for it. So where do you ask for it? 707-247-4248. That's my student advisors. They're here on standby, waiting on you to pick up the phone and change your life. That number is 707-247-4248. Do that. Make some changes today because tomorrow is not promised. And let me tell you something. As long as I've been doing this business, the people that take action right now are typically the ones that make a big difference. Those that say, well, we'll see what tomorrow happens. We'll talk about it next week. The problem with that is they've been saying that to them their lives forever. They've been lying to themselves forever. They've been telling themselves that little lie. Oh, we'll get to it later. We'll get to it later. We'll get to it tomorrow. We'll get to it next week. That's a lie. That's a lie. You're lying to yourself. Let's just be honest. You are lying to yourself. Okay? So wake up. Stop lying to yourself. Take massive action today. Get it done. And I won't have to reach through here and grab you and smack you upside the head. Okay? Because nothing's going to change in your life until guess what? You start to change your life. Getting your life right. That's what it's about. So let's talk about the second part of today's training. Two main lead types. Two main lead types. That's all there is out there. Let's be very clear. There's only two main lead types. There's public seller leads and there's private seller leads. That's it. We just talked about public seller leads and when and how you should look for those and when to use public seller leads and when not to. That moves us into private seller leads. Now, private seller leads are all seller leads that are not public. These are all seller leads that are typically for sale by owners that aren't advertising. They're the ones that we have to go after. They're the ones that are distressed. They're the ones that are in foreclosure, probate, inherited, out of state. You name it, there's massive lists. These are the types of private seller leads that we want to go after. And here's why. Because they're not public. Which means you aren't out there competing against the seller with 100 other investors. A lot of cases, it's just you. In some cases, it's you and maybe 2 other people, and that's it. That's the difference. But underneath private seller leads, you have a vast of different marketing strategies that you can do. From bandit signs to find private seller leads, to billboard signs, to radio ads, to TV commercials. You could all go down and start going after like bird dogs to find you private seller leads. You could start looking for co-wholesalers to find you private seller leads. You could start doing direct mail, which consists of a whole bunch of them, right? Probate, inherited, multifamily owners that are out of state, single family owners that are out of state, equity rich property, distressed sellers, sellers with violations, code violation sellers. Did I talk about inherited? Yep. Burned out landlords. These are all private seller leads. And here's another one for you. Write this one down. Property management companies. They have sellers that don't even know they want to sell yet, so they haven't marketed on the MLS, but they will contact them for you. Rental ads in the newspaper. These are people that are renting, and in some cases because they couldn't sell it, so they become a private seller lead for you to negotiate seller financing. Listen, the list goes on and on and on. I got over 50 different marketing sources in my 30-day fast track course, and that lays out a ton of them. So my point is when you're going after private seller leads, it's not just one seller type. There's a whole bunch of them. And we have to hone in on the ones that are working for today's marketplace. And so when we look at this, we look at the current market we're in. We are in a market where we are noticing the inventory is getting shorter and shorter by the months. And in certain primary, or what we refer to as a primary market, and then you have secondary markets, and then you have third tier markets. But at primary markets, we're seeing inventory in some cases in 2 and 3 months. That's super low. And in secondary markets, we're seeing some of that. My point to you is this. If you go back to what we talked about earlier in the public seller leads section, then when the inventory is short like that, then we know what? That the likelihood for us to get a deal off the MLS is, can you see that right there? That is a 0. It's like almost none. It's difficult. So we have to go after public seller leads. The beauty of this is because it is a shortage of inventory. When we do secure our leads and we find the right deal and we put it on the market, then we're going to sell it fast. But you guys got to stop complaining about there's no leads, and you got to change your marketing strategy. You got to go after direct response marketing. You got to go after private seller leads. You've got to go after the model and build your own lead sources. Now, let me tell you something. A mentor once said to me, when I was getting started back in the day, he said, Zach, where do you get all your leads from? I said, oh, my agent sends me all the leads I want. And he goes, oh, really? You're a parasite marketer. A parasite marketer, he called me. Now, if you know what a parasite is, it lives off of its what? Its host. Which means if its host doesn't feed the body or the engine, then what? The parasite starves to death, right? And so that was his point to me. If you never take your business to the point in which you start doing your own marketing, then you will always be in need of someone else. And if that person decides to start sending leads to another bigger investor, or to go out of business, or take 3 months off, then where's your business? It's done, because you're a parasite marketer. It's done. It's over with. That's what's happening to a lot of investors right now across the country. They were like building a business off the MLS leads. Well, man, a year ago, 18 months ago, I started telling people, this ain't going to last. This ain't going to last. It's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. And guess what? It's come to an end. I mean, there's a few out there, but not a lot like it used to be. Well, the ones that never shifted their gear and focused on their marketing, building their marketing plan, going after private seller leads, were sitting in floating in limbo land asking for somebody to throw them a life preserver because their ship is sinking and they don't know why. Because they were parasite marketers. They were dependent on a lead source that can be controlled by someone else. See, when we move to private seller leads, we're in complete control at that point. Where we can turn it up, we can turn it down, we can increase our market share, we could decrease our market share, we could venture out into multiple streams and analyze our lead sources to figure out which ones are giving us the best returns. And we are in control at that point of how we grow our business or how quickly we grow our business. And that is something that most people will never understand. And that's why if you get it and you do it, you'll eliminate 75% of your competition. You'll eliminate them. Why? Because people are afraid to spend money on marketing. They're afraid of it. They're afraid. Why? Because it's the unknown. Like they don't know what's going to happen. Well, welcome to marketing. That's what marketing is. It's finding out the best stream to go after that we can determine before we spend money on it, and then we have to spend money to determine if all the information we've obtained was correct. That's marketing. You have to do it. There's no way around it. You have to do it. You got to dig deeper in your business so that you can start to grow as a business and not as a parasite marketer. And let me tell you something. We are in a market right now that if you're not out there doing direct mail, bandit signs, door knocking, we're back in a door knocking market again. If you're not doing at least those three, man, you're out. You will maybe do 1, 2, 3 deals a year, and that's about it, and you'll have to fight and take a very minimum profit off of that deal. But if you really want to get into the big profits, like some of the deals we do with $50,000, $60,000 payouts, I got one closing in 2 weeks. I'm going to make $120,000 on off of one deal. I got it off of a radio ad. I ran radio ad and got that lead. My point is the big profits come from private seller leads. That's where they come from. Big profit deals come from private seller leads because you're in a much better position to negotiate those deals to get you the end result you're looking for, depending on, how much that seller just doesn't want that property anymore. Once they go from a private seller lead over to a public seller lead and they hire an agent, well, the agent's going to try to get as much for that property as possible because why? They make a commission on that. So now not only are you trying to negotiate the agent down, but you're also trying to negotiate the seller down. It's harder. Can it be done? Yes, but remember this. If you really want to be successful in any business, real estate investing or a widget business, and you've got to understand that the only way you can truly be successful is you have to have multiple marketing streams coming in, multiple lead streams coming in, multiples. You got one coming here, 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 here. You got to have them coming in all over the place. Like an octopus. You got to have arms everywhere pulling leads in. Right? If that's the direction that you need to be in, then that's the direction you need to understand because you've got to deploy them all at once. You can't run this one for 3 months and see if it works, and then run this one for 3 months and see if it works, and then run this one for 3 months and see if it works. If you do that, you'll spend the next 2 years trying to figure out why your business doesn't work. And I'm just being honest with you right now, guys. I'm being just flat out honest with you. You need to run them all at the same time. Because if you can run 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different marketing streams at the same time, then you'll not only get a spike in your takeoff business, the launch of your company, but you'll also be able to determine which one of these lead sources is working the best. And there's going to be typically 3, 4, or 5 of them that work better than the rest. But then you know which ones to get rid of and which ones to focus in on. That, my friend, is how you launch a company. Not one lead at a time. You got to dig in. You got to make the commitment. You got to believe that this will work if you get enough leads in. That's what you have to do. But only you can be in control of that. So.
Is that still playing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can you see me?
I can see you on my personal page. I think it's just the business manager.
Nobody's giving me a thumbs up. Maybe they can't see me.
I can see you. I'll give it to you.
Can you? Oh, here they go. So anyways, guys, that's what I'm going to talk to you about is these 2 main lead sources. If you really want to dial in your real estate business, you've got to really not only understand that there's 2 main lead sources, public seller leads and private seller leads, but you've got to determine which market you're in. Which one are you in? Are you in a market that you need to be going after private seller leads, or are you in a market where you can still do public seller leads? This is part of that whole research and risk management side that I'm always talking about. Do your work, put the work in, and you'll start to make some changes too. So that's why I say get your life right first before you start getting your money right. So guys, remember, own your own life. You got to dig deeper to own it. This is Zack Childress. I'll see you on another Blog Talk Radio or on our podcast. Until next time. Facebook. Dig it, guys. You got to dig it. 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 It's out there, but you got to change. If you're in your market and you're like, Zach, I can't get no leads, well, guess what? It's because you're not going after the right lead sources. Do we get any more questions, Jill?
We do. It kind of froze funny there right now. But we'll do it anyway in case it picks back up.
I'm not froze over here.
You're not?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well this is on my personal page that you're frozen. So, okay. So AC actually says, what percentage of your lead intake should be from the MLS and why?
Oh, AC, good question. And actually, I wish there was a broad answer for that. But it always goes back to each market. So AC's question is, what percentage of your lead intake sources should be MLS or public seller leads versus private seller leads? Well, listen, if we're in a stable market and the inventory is 4 months and your market is 4 months, which means it's pretty stable, then it's going to be a direct reflection of which tier you're investing in. So if you're a tier 1, tier 2 investor, then it should be 80 to 90% of all your leads should be private seller leads, and 10 to maybe 20% should be public seller leads. But if you're a tier 3, tier 4 investor in a stable market, 4 months of inventory on average, then it's just the opposite. You could literally pull 80 to 90% of your leads off the MLS and then do a 10 to 20% public seller lead campaign. Unless you're just finding that there's a lot of competition in that market, then you might want to switch that up to maybe a 60-40 or a 40-60, something like that in the market. But there again, I want to be clear, that's in a kind of a stable type market. When you're in a vulnerable market like we're in right now, remember, we're moving through what's called a hyper market correction right now. So in this type of hyper market that we're in and that we're seeing, you got to understand that it's all based on which market you're in, because certain markets across the United States are super hyper right now where others are stagnant. But those super hypers and those stagnants are offsetting our numbers across the country, which makes us look like we're in a super climb mode right now, and it's false. We're not in a super climb mode. We're actually stabilizing in the next 18 to 24 months, which means we're going to see a drop coming. So that's what I'm referring to. So you got to dig a little deeper in your market to really identify in your market, well, where am I at? And if you're in a market with low inventory that's available, then you need to be heavy 90% public lead sources and maybe 5 to 10%, private lead sources. You need to be heavy 90% private lead sources and maybe 5 or 10% public lead sources. So it's all a reflection of what the condition of the market is, determines how you approach it with your lead sources. I'm done with the answer.
That was a good answer. Colleen, she says, where do you suggest we find the private seller leads? But you kind of covered that.
Yeah, so I probably covered that after she wrote the question, but private seller leads are everything out there from foreclosures to pre-foreclosures to 30, 60, 90 days to NODs. There's list providers you can get these things from, probate, inherited, out-of-state owners, yada, yada, yada.
Okay. And then Toby was just getting on the wagon with you, and she said she has no problem knocking doors. She's done it for years. Love
it. Door knocking is where the money's at right now, Toby. I'm telling you. Go pull a 30, 60, 90-day foreclosure list and then target those by equity high. So when you pull the list, look at how long ago they bought it and at what price point they bought it at. So if they're 15 years old or older, then you know they've got somewhere between 25 and 50% of equity in that property if it's gone up over the last 15 years. So you need to look at that. That's a huge list that you could go after. We good?
We're good.
All right, guys. Well, look at that. I'm going to wrap this thing up before an hour. So I love you guys. I love it. I appreciate all the questions. Questions are most important to me. Remember, share this stream. Let other people know in the market if they're doing something wrong. Why are they doing it wrong? Let them watch this. This could probably change everything that they might have been thinking of why they're not getting the right leads. Share it. Help somebody out. Remember, it's more important to help others than it is yourself. You'll get it back in the end. Trust me. someone's watching. So always look out for the other person around you. You never know who it is. Share the stream. Tell your friends what we do. Remember, this is Zack Childress with your Tuesday Go Live on Facebook. All about real estate investing talk for today's market. Stay tuned tomorrow. We are going to dig deeper into our book review for tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern Time Zone. See you guys.